This IRL streamer just got punched in the face on camera during a complete meltdown, and then allegedly bit a random woman's hand hard enough to tear her skin off. And now she's filing police reports and threatening to sue him. I guess that's just another night in Josh Block's life. So if you've been on this channel for a while now, you already know who Joshua Block is. And if you don't, he's an autistic IRL streamer who suffers from alcoholism with over 4 million followers going by World of T-shirts on his social media accounts. And for a long time now, his public image has revolved around wandering around cities while drunk, yelling at strangers, being surrounded by yes men, and getting into confrontations that inevitably keep his audience coming back for more. The last time I covered him was nearly 6 months ago when he was deported from Dubai, and then shortly before that, he also had to flee Japan because he couldn't act right. However, this latest incident happened in Berkeley, California, and this might have been the messiest situation he's got himself into. Because after a whole lot of live stream footage that confirms that night was a complete train wreck, he might be looking at a serious lawsuit. But before we get into all that, we definitely need some context to understand a little bit more about Josh's current lifestyle, the people around him, and why his actions are progressively getting worse as time goes on. So Josh, for the most part, doesn't stream alone anymore, and he hasn't for some time. He's got this, what you would call a handler named Tony Bame, who follows him around everywhere and is actually listed as Josh's manager on his official page. But when it comes to the live streams, it's safe to say that besides being his manager, Tony ends up being Josh's caretaker as well. And there's one clip where they're just sitting at dinner and Tony has this look on his face like he's contemplating every life choice that led him to this moment.
Stewie, what did you say? You can't, give me alcohol? Is that what you said?
Yeah. You're banned from it from here today.
Is it because I drank too much?
It's probably when you got out of the car, you did your little rant. They didn't like it.
No, I'll kill someone. I don't care if they...
Call the cops.
You better
Stop saying that. Do you mean that or not?
I do mean it.
Okay, well then somebody needs to call the police, Josh.
You better not, or else...
Yeah.
Or else.
And I mean, it's complicated, as it's hard to blame the guy because his entire brand is now tied to essentially babysitting an increasingly erratic streamer who gets into trouble almost every single evening. There's no way that isn't exhausting to deal with. And it's not very different from what happened to Josh's previous manager slash handler, Mr. Bass, who we'll speak about later on in this video because Josh ended up accusing him for some pretty sick stuff. So like I explained previously, the last time I made a video about Josh was in April, and since then, he assaulted someone on the 4th of July, which resulted in charges and meant he couldn't leave the country for a while because the government took his passport. But according to him, his bond was recently lifted and he got his passport back.
I have my passport back.
And right after getting his passport back, instead of reflecting on the behavior that got his passport taken away in the first place, he decided he needed to get out of the country for a few days and blamed everything on America for treating him poorly.
People in America are treating me pretty bad. I just want to get away for a few days. It's not safe around here.
Yeah, this is the level of self-awareness we're dealing with here. So, what happened in Berkeley? Well, over the past months, Josh has been developing this new obsession with ranting about immigrants pretty much every stream. And no, I'm not talking about any attempt of having a genuine political discussion. I'm talking about him screaming about immigrants in every single city he goes to. The dude was in Japan screaming at Japanese citizens, calling them immigrants, while he was in their country. So obviously, it's just complete ignorant nonsense that's most likely designed to be clipped and then, shipped by clippers because he knows these clips go viral. So in this sad way, he's just added that to his other phrases like put the fries in the bag or faking seizures live just for sympathy.
Josh, we went to the house.
What's going on? What's going on? Help! Do something!
Are we breakdancing?
I'm seizing. I'm having a seizure. Do something.
Okay, it was fake.
I don't know.
Got it. I'm trying to...
Oh,
I faked another seizure.
Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of pathetic, dude. On this particular night in Berkeley, Josh was out with Tony, going to different bars and restaurants, and he had gathered a group of people following him around. At some point during the night, things started escalating. So Josh was saying some pretty awful stuff about various groups of people in an area that definitely wasn't a great place to be saying those types of things. So eventually, he ended up being backed into a corner by a crowd of people who were filming and shouting at him. Now, this doesn't necessarily explain why what happened next happened, but it definitely is important for context understanding on how all this developed. So Tony was there, trying to help manage the situation. But this was proving to be difficult since there was a literal mob of people with their phones out. Josh started doing that thing where he essentially calls out random groups and says he hates them. Now, obviously, I can't show a lot of that clip without heavily censoring it, but he was just spewing hatred. And then he decides to start punching and biting himself, which is something I guess he does when he's agitated. Tony is right there trying to calm him down and keep him contained, but then suddenly Josh decides to just try to leave through a corner by forcing his way through the crowd. And it looks like Joshua was about to put his hands on a guy in a red hoodie, and the red hoodie guy clearly wasn't going to let that slide. So he throws 2 punches at Josh. Both of these punches hit Josh in the face, and he starts immediately crying and screaming. He then starts yelling about how his nose is broken and that he's in pain, but he wasn't bleeding at all, and there was no visible swelling or obvious damage to his face. I think he was just probably shocked that him being hateful suddenly had physical repercussions. And I feel like that is fair to say he was shocked, because most of the time people just film him and maybe say something back, but in this instance things got physical, and he clearly was not expecting it. After the punch, everything turned into complete chaos. Multiple people started getting into minor altercations on the street, and so on and so on. Like, the sidewalk turned into this domino effect of like violence. And then Josh started wandering the street and freaking out because Tony keeps on talking about how the police are going to show up. And Tony seems like he wants to report the incident to the police and maybe press charges against the guy who punched Josh, or at least clarify what happened. But Josh is having none of that because he knows he was already in legal issues because of the July 4th assault. So I can only assume the last thing he wants to deal with is another police altercation. So at some point during all this chaos, the timeline becomes slightly unclear. Josh, Tony, apparently some other people end up trying to get into an Uber. And this is where the alleged biting incident comes into play. And a few days later after the incident, a woman by the name of Angela Garcia came forward on social media claiming that Josh bit her hand during all this chaos.
There's a message for Joshua Block and his manager. Y'all are gonna get a message from my attorney real soon. Bro bit the out of me. Grown ass man bit the out of me. Pulled my blood out. And I gotta go to the ER. Because that's not okay. Last night we were at a nightclub in Berkeley. Whatever. He just posted a TikTok talking about I got punched in the face. If you got punched in the face, it was for a reason. Because apparently bro hates immigrants. Bro's a crash out. Don't know why. I didn't even know of this man prior to this. So I'm pissed off. My hand hurts. Don't know what the I'm gonna do.
But here's where things get a little bit more confusing and people start questioning her side of the story. Because according to her explanation, she was leaving a nightclub in Berkeley with some guy that she knew, and they witnessed Josh getting punched. Apparently the guy she was with knew who Josh was. And even though she claimed that she had no idea who he was before this, they decided to help him get away from the scene and into the car. Now, that's her version of events. But when you actually look at the footage that she provides as evidence, there's some pretty significant inconsistencies here that make a lot of people suspicious. In the clips that she shows, you can clearly see that Josh is freaking out in the car as she described, and he's there in the front passenger seat absolutely losing it, throwing things, flailing around, but she is nowhere to be seen.
I'm doing TikTok.
Just get in the car.
Yeah, get in, bro. Get in.
Antics.
No, stop.
Stop with your phone, dude.
Smashing it.
Josh,
Dude.
hey,
Josh.
Hey, hold him back, bro, because I will
Just
talk
stop.
to him.
Stop, Josh.
Hey, bro.
Just stop,
Hey, I will
Josh.
talk to him.
Dude, what are you doing? Stop, Josh.
Hey, Josh, let's go.
Josh, stop, dude.
Record that.
Okay, let's go. Stop, Josh.
People in the comments started trying to figure out where she actually was when this bite allegedly happened. And after posting a couple TikToks talking about the situation, she ended up deleting them, which seemed rather suspicious. But then she suddenly came back with another video where she tried to provide even more context and an explanation about what happened.
So I originally wasn't gonna come on here and make a story time, but now I feel like I do have to. Joshua Block bit me like 2 days ago. I'm really upset. I'm still processing this. I took down the other videos that I put up because I feel like they didn't have any explanation. Thursday night we were leaving a nightclub in Berkeley, and I guess he was yelling how much he hated immigrants, and he got punched in the face, and the guy that he was with couldn't really help him out on his own, so the guys that I was with were helping him out and getting him away from the scene and getting him into the car, and this whole time he was just flipping shit. So he was losing his freaking mind, and we got him in the passenger seat of the car, and I'm driving, and I thought bro was gonna hit me. Like, he's flailing his arms all around. I really do think he's gonna hit me. So when I get my hand in his face, no, I didn't enable this. No, my intention wasn't to get bitten or to get hit. Like, I really just wanted to avoid being hit. When I got my hand in his face, he was able to take a big punch out of me because he bit the I mean, I'm not gonna lie, like, if you bite someone enough to, like, literally pull their skin off and, like, bleed, you gotta bite them pretty hard.
But I mean, even in this follow-up video, the inconsistencies still remain. So does that mean that it didn't happen? Not necessarily. From what we know about Josh, it's entirely possible that he may have bit her at some point during the chaos that night, but we definitely didn't get it on camera, at least out of all the footage that's currently public. And since we can see the moments before Josh got in the car while he was still shouting in the street, there was a woman in the group, but the video's resolution is so low that we can barely see her face, and there's no way to really tell if that's Angela or not. But I mean, it's very possible this could be Angela. So whether she actually follows through with pressing charges and getting a lawyer remains to be seen. But once this entire situation blew up online and TMZ picked up the story about Josh getting punched, he was pretty much forced to address it.
I'm going through a difficult time with my court case, being on TMZ, and all the hate that I'm getting. That's why I keep drinking a lot, but I want to safely moderate it and deal with my problems instead of running away from them. I wanted to address some things right now. I just saw a disgusting video on TMZ of me getting rocked in the face for talking about immigrants. I like immigrants. I love people from abroad as long as they're legal. I didn't intentionally do anything wrong.
As long as they're legal. While researching this, I couldn't believe this. Like, come on. But here's what's interesting about Josh's priorities. His main concern isn't reflecting on why this happened or acknowledging that maybe charging at people isn't a great strategy. His big worry was that his phone might have gotten broken when it fell to the ground, explaining that he had photos from trips he'd taken to Norway and Costa Rica that he could apparently lose. But I do have to mention, it is fairly common for people with autism to lack self-awareness, which is why it's important to have somewhat of a support team around them, not just people who take advantage of them and use them for their own personal content.
I need to get out of the country for a few days. I just got my passport back recently because my bond was lifted, so I was able to pick it up from Santa Ana. The night out I had last night was the most insulting night out of my life. I got punched in the mouth twice. My phone fell to the ground. I thought it was gonna break. I have pictures from Norway, Costa Rica, and other places. And my cruise pictures. I just need to get out for a few days. I'll do my court-ordered classes on Zoom if I'm out of the country. Currently, there is no court-ordered restriction that prevents me from leaving California.
Brother, upgrade your iCloud storage because your photos should be the least of your worries. But what I don't understand though is we didn't really see his phone fall during the initial punch. The clearest footage of his phone hitting the ground is when he throws it himself while getting into the Uber. But that punch clip is also in pretty bad resolution, so I guess maybe it happened earlier as well. He also mentions that he just needs to get out of the country for a few days, which again shows where his head is at. So should we maybe take some time to reevaluate? No, just go to Mexico. Obviously, that'll solve all your problems.
Attention, please. Passengers for British Airways Flight 2145 to London Heathrow, boarding please at gate 14.
Like, you would think getting punched in the face might teach Josh some kind of lesson about his behavior. Maybe he would just take a step back and reconsider constantly drinking and antagonizing strangers on the street. But less than 24 hours later, he was back out drinking again and posting on TikTok like nothing had ever happened. And throughout this recent drama, Josh has also been going out about his former handler, Mr. Based, as I mentioned earlier. And if you haven't been following Josh's content and don't know who I'm talking about, Mr. Based is another streamer who is quite the nutcase, to put it lightly. I I would say he's probably the person who's used Josh the most, because they were together for a long time, with Mr. Bass positioning himself as Josh's caretaker and manager. I guess literally like the new guy. But obviously this is no longer a thing anymore, and Mr. Bass has lost almost all of his relevance since they split up. However, it seems like he's desperately trying to cling to anything that relates to Josh, even trying to capitalize on Josh's catchphrases like ahoy and world of t-shirts, which are both things that Josh are just trying to get trademarked right now because Mr. Bass has been trying to use those phrases to sell merchandise. While basically everything Josh does on his stream is pathetic, stealing from an autistic guy is even more pathetic. But the accusations get way more serious than just stolen catchphrases, as Josh recently claimed that Mr. Bass put Fent in his Smirnoff Ice at some point in time when they used to hang out, and this supposedly sent Josh to the ICU.
Me and Mr. Bass, aka Jason Itzler, were done. He put fentanyl in my Smirnoff Ice. I had to go to the ICU. I was gonna play beer pong, but I sat out. And I said, you know why I didn't play beer pong? And they said, was it because you're not feeling good? And I said, no, it was because I got double vision. I called an ambulance because I knew something wasn't right. Mr. Bass also stole a Hoyt and World of t-shirts. Now I have to get registered trademarks for a Hoyt and World of t-shirts.
And the timeline around this is super confusing because Josh and Mr. Bass, they haven't been around each other in over a year. Josh hasn't even been to New York in that time, where Mr. Bass is from. So where this allegedly happened is unclear. But as of right now, there's nothing more to that story other than those wild allegations. So if the woman who claims Josh bit her actually follows through with pressing charges and getting legal representation, that becomes a whole nother legal issue for him. And honestly, this entire Josh saga is extremely difficult because on one side, he clearly needs a lot of help and some good people around him, but he doesn't allow or want that help, so he continues to let people who reinforce his terrible decisions into his life, which inevitably will continue to send him on a darker and darker path. It's just sad to see, so I really do hope that Josh gets sober and eventually gets the help he desperately needs.